How to create believable characters for a crime noir novel. 1. What is a crime novel noir and why is it important to create believable characters for this literary genre? A crime novel noir is a subgenre of detective fiction that is characterized by having a dark and pessimistic tone, and by portraying crime as inevitable and even glamorous. This type of novel developed mainly in the United States during the 1920s and 1930s, and was popularized by authors such as Dashiell Hammett, Raymond Chandler, and James M. Cain. The crime noir novel focuses on complex and often morally ambiguous characters, such as private detectives, corrupt cops, or criminals, and uses narrative techniques such as internal monologue and flashback to create an atmosphere of intrigue and mystery. It is important to create believable characters for your crime novel noir, as these characters are the engine of the plot and the key to keeping the reader interested in the story. The characters must have clear and coherent motivations, and their behavior must be consistent with their personality and their circumstances. In the noir detective novel, where moral ambiguity is a constant, it is especially important that the characters are believable, since otherwise the plot could lose its credibility and its emotional impact. All of this is essential to keep the reader on edge until the end. Two. What is a believable character? A believable character is one who appears realistic, coherent, and consistent in the way they act, think, and speak throughout the story. That is to say, a character that has a defined personality, clear motivations, and a series of characteristics that make it unique and distinctive in the narrative. Readers need to empathize with them and believe in their story so that they feel engaged and interested in the outcome of the case. In addition, believable characters allow the author to develop a more solid and coherent plot, since their actions and decisions are based on their personality and previously established motivations. In order to achieve believable characters in a crime noir novel, it is necessary to pay attention to their development and evolution throughout the story. The protagonist must have an evolutionary arc that takes him from one situation to another, and this implies that his personality can also change throughout the narrative. It is important that the author knows his characters well before starting to write, and that he takes into account their past, their traumas, their interpersonal relationships, and any other relevant information that may influence how they act in the story. Likewise, secondary characters must also have defined characteristics and motivations, although these may be less detailed than those of the protagonist. They sustain the story and carry out the actions that move the plot forward, so it is important that they are believable and that their actions are justified by their personality and motivations. 3. Tips for creating believable characters in a crime noir novel. A. Know your character. Chat with him or her. By getting to know your character, you can understand their motivations, beliefs, and values. For example, if you are creating a detective, you might ask yourself, why did you choose to be a detective? What motivates you to keep going when faced with a difficult case? B. Create a detailed biography for your character. It's important to have a full understanding of your character's history, from their childhood to the present moment. This will help give depth and coherence to the character. C. Give them human traits. Especially in a noir detective novel, the characters must have human flaws and strengths. For example, the main character could be a kind-looking widow who drinks excessively or is addicted to drugs. D. Make sure the character fits the story. The characters must be coherent with the setting and the plot of the story. For example, if the story is set in the 1940s, the main character should reflect the values and culture of that time. E. Add a touch of mystery. The characters in a noir crime novel should be interesting and mysterious. For example, you could create a supporting character who seems innocent at first, but is later revealed to have a dark past. F. Use exaggeration sparingly. Although you can make the characters exaggerated to make them more interesting, you have to be careful not to make them too cartoonish. For example, a villain may have some exaggerated traits, but still need to be believable. G. Avoid flat characters. Create characters that are complex and have depth. Even minor characters can have an interesting story. For example, you could create a supporting character who is the main character's younger brother and has always lived in his older brother's shadow. H. Make the reader identify with the main character. Make sure the main character has characteristics that are easily identifiable to readers. For example, the main character could be a single father struggling to balance his work and home life. I. Show the emotions of the character. It is important to show the emotions of the characters so that readers can connect with them. For example, you could show how the main character feels after losing a loved one. J. The protagonist must be attractive. While the main character should have human flaws, they should also have some attractive qualities that make readers drawn to them. This does not necessarily have to be applied in a positive sense. A murderer can generate empathy in the reader. 4. Summing up. Making the main characters, above all, exceptional at something. It could be a special ability, a unique personality trait, or even a rare hobby. This can help them stand out in the reader's mind and make them more memorable. Create realistic characters and put a face on each character. This means that the characters must have characteristics and motivations consistent with the plot of the novel. In addition, it is important to create detailed descriptions so that the reader can easily view them. Give the character a purpose or desire in the story. This helps make it more realistic and believable. In addition, he must have a background consistent with his personality and actions in the plot of the novel, which can be helped by creating a backstory or background of the character. Outline the characters in detail, describing their strengths and weaknesses, as well as their past and environment. It's important that they have a development arc throughout the story, allowing them to grow and change. Create independent and autonomous characters that can stand on their own in the plot of the novel. This means that they must be able to make decisions and face challenges without being completely dependent on the protagonist. I hope this video has been useful to you. You can write to my email or go to my website. I am interested in your opinion. On my author page on Amazon you will find information about my novels. Thank you so much.